All right. Thank you everyone for joining us. This is the episode 10 of Orphan Cracked. I'm so excited to talk to you guys about last night's season finale of Orphan Black. It was insane. Just a few disclaimers, like I always do. Not affiliated with the show, BBC America, anything like that. I'm just a girl on the internet. I am very happy to introduce my guest today, Sam. She is joining us very early from where she is, and we're so happy to have you and to talk to you today. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
I'm really happy. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, well, let's jump right in.
Sure.
But before we do, part of me can't believe that the season's over already because the hiatus from last year was so long, and it was like, oh my God, when is it ever coming back? And then finally it was April, and you're like, yeah. And then now it's over, and it feels like it went so fast. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. It does feel that way. I came into this fandom kind of late. I started watching June or January of this year, so I didn't have to go through the whole hiatus, so I'm naively kind of looking forward to it. Maybe I'll come to regret that later, but right now I'm kind of relieved because I can sleep again at night.
Yeah. That will probably be very helpful to me as well. Oh man. Okay. Well, so let's get started. So I have to say the opening scene to this episode was just so brilliantly shot. I love the shots of her in the interrogation room intercut with the shots of her yelling at Siobhan and Felix kind of having a breakdown in the back. I thought, and the lighting and everything, it was so technically well done. It was immediately engaging with a sense of, what's going on. And kind of a dread as well, what's Sarah doing? And
yeah, definitely. I mean, she was definitely, with her stopping and hugging Siobhan, you could see it in her face that she'd made that decision to turn herself in. So oh, Sarah, just kind of see that fire going out in her eyes that you normally see with her, and just breaks your heart. But and oh man, that whole scene though, that was just
it was
hard to watch.
It was really hard to watch, especially after having watched last week's, and Rachel comes in disguised as Sarah, and she fools everyone, including me, until afterwards. And you're kind of thinking about it, and you're like, wait a minute, her hair was way too curly, and then you think about the way she walks in, she still has that kind of Rachel kind of regal kind of walk, and you're like, oh my God, how did we not put this together? And then it kind of hits you, oh right, they look exactly the same, Well,
she did have that Sarah swagger down, so that's probably a big part of it.
Yeah. I have to say, some of my favorite parts of any episode is when a clone is impersonating another clone, not just because it's so fun to watch, but the technicality that Tatiana has in playing, because she's basically playing two different clones at once, and it's just watching that is it's so incredible,
right.
So
she's playing
awesome.
One clone's interpretation of another clone, but that's also through the lens of herself as Tatiana.
Yes, exactly. It's brilliant. But anyway, so I kind of knew, I guess, halfway through the first scene that, she was going to turn herself in because it's Kira, obviously. But I didn't know what exactly they wanted. And I still am not quite sure, what all of the questions were about, unless it had to do with the surgery. It felt, I don't know, it felt kind of needlessly harsh on their part. I'm guessing she turned herself in, on her own. They didn't come and grab her, so she was already there. I feel like they were kind of unnecessarily harsh with her, and I'm not sure why.
I saw it as, again, that thing with women having control over their own bodies. Because they were asking all these invasive questions
Yeah.
about sex and her sexuality and her body, her womb essentially. Have you ever
Yeah.
had an abortion? You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and man, that is clearly that's all they care about is reproduction, whether or not a woman can reproduce, and that's kind of what our society is all about. Is like, well, what's your worth as a woman, whether or not you're going to be able to make babies.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We had a lot to do with that. The writers kind of pulling that out and throwing that in our faces, which they really love to do.
Yeah.
What I was going to say about that. No, I'll think about that. And so,
Sure. I
but does it
think.
make sense?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
That's
I
right.
think that's kind of been the theme for the show for a while, and I think it's kind of it's very telling and kind of scary that like both sides of this of the adversarial forces to the clones, both the science side of diet and the crazy religious fish people, they both are like kind of focused on reproducing and on the clones' ability to have children, and like there's literally nothing else that's important to them. It's literally just that. And again, it's like you said, it's reducing each of these women down to their reproductive capacity, and I think it's
Right.
so scary that that comes from everywhere. Like
Right.
not just one side, not just the other side, but both. And I
Yeah.
think that that's such a commentary on our society as well. Like, because we're, like you said, we're unfortunately very much like that.
hmm
Very much.
Even making an artificial womb. I mean, totally cutting out the need for
Yeah,
women, supposedly, completely.
exactly,
Just,
exactly.
yeah.
That was really terrifying. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, I was kind of starting to begrudgingly sort of start to like Leaky before that, and then seeing that was just like it kind of gave me chills. Like he was completely cutting out the personhood at
hmm
all and was just like, let's just make this thing that
hmm
can make more people.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
was just that's really scary.
Yeah. Cutting out the human factor completely. And then you had
Hmm.
Ethan Duncan. Like, I'm sure he had maybe his heart in kind of the right place, but even he was like, well, we just want to make little girls. Like,
Yeah,
what
yeah,
for? Why do you want to make little girls?
exactly. This whole thing like is such. I don't know. I know probably is not. They don't try to ever take a stand on right and wrong, whether you should clone people or not. They kind of just go with it. But it really does make you think about the ethical repercussions of what could happen if we do, and probably when we do get our hands on this kind of technology. Like, what will that look like for the actual people that are products of our experiments? And I don't know. It's not looking great, at least. At least
Yeah.
from my perspective. I don't know. It just kind of opens this whole like can of worms of issues that are really scary in a way. And so I don't know.
This show's really good at bringing up issues that,
Yeah,
maybe we weren't looking at very closely before.
yeah, for sure. Like before I watched this, I watched it last June. I probably thought about cloning once, and it was like with Dolly the sheep.
hmm
And now it's just like this is something that is like literally around the corner. They're making strides in this direction every day.
hmm
And so I think it's really important for us to examine what we're willing to do and what boundaries we're willing to cross
hmm
and what decisions we're willing to make in the pursuit of science, of innovation, technology, what have you. And it's been, at least for me, a really long time since a TV show has really made me think about issues this hard and this deeply, which
Yeah.
I love. Yeah.
About that, actually, since you mentioned Dolly, I've been reading a book by the lead scientist on that project that
Really?
created Dolly. Yeah, it's called After Dolly: The Uses and Misuses of Human Cloning.
Okay.
And right after this announcement was made, there was this whole to do about, human cloning and the ethics of it. And President Clinton at the time called all the scientists around the world together the consortium to talk about the ethics
Mhm.
of messing with biology and genetics. And
Mhm.
um, Ian Wilmot, that's the name of the scientist, was against human cloning, like fiercely, and is still
Really?
against it. So I think that that's really interesting.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
using it for other things like medical purposes for
Mhm.
healing, he was for that. So it's
Yeah.
interesting. Anyway, just in a little aside.
That is really interesting. I might ask you later for the name of that book again.
Sure.
That was really interesting. Okay, but anyway, I feel like I kind of got off track.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. No, no, it wasn't you. I kind of just was thinking about Orphan Black and how much I love this show. But anyway, moving on. So one thing I kind of want to talk about really early and try to get my head around is what exactly was going on with the whole Cal, Siobhan, Paul thing. I'm still like really confused about how Siobhan like knew about the military part of it. I think the whole theme of Siobhan's character this season for me is what does she know slash what side is she on?
Yeah.
And I now more than ever I'm wondering what in the world, like how does she have all this information, like what was really going on? How did she figure all that out with the military and stuff? And so what, I guess if we start with the scene where Cal shows up, what was your read on what went on, like with Project Castor and everything?
Oh man, so I think that Siobhan must have been involved with the project from early on, or at least with the military. Like I thought of her as more of opposing the military, but
Yeah,
so that's why it's confusing to me that she's with them. But
right.
if she was working with Paul, and Paul was, well, we thought he was ex-military, but it turns out he still is.
Yeah,
And then you had Tony's message of uh, Paul is a ghost a couple episodes ago, and
yeah,
then there was some analysis on Tumblr about Paul being a ghost operative, which is like where um, they went into other countries and pretended to fight, but really it was just like a mirage and illusion, basically,
mm,
making the enemy think that there were more of them than there really were.
okay,
Um, so he's kind of like a double or maybe even a triple agent at this point,
wow,
infiltrating
yeah,
uh, Dyad, Project Lita,
hmm,
to get closer into it, and get more intel. Or maybe they already had the intel, but they wanted kind of that access directly to the clones and the information that they had.
mm,
And then Siobhan's part in that, um, not even sure that I can even guess at how she got involved. Um,
yeah,
it seems like Carlton, her contact in the UK, knew less than she did. Unless
yeah,
he was
it
lying
does.
too. It's hard to say. But Project Castor, I really want to talk about that. I'm sure you
Yeah,
caught on that that was a Greek mythology reference, right?
yes, yes,
Castor and Pollux.
hmm.
Makes me wonder if there's actually Project Pollux.
I know. I wonder if that will be like a season 3 thing.
Yeah, maybe so.
That'd be
Um,
awesome.
maybe.
Maybe
But,
it'll be awesome to watch. We'll put it that way.
well, they keep saying that it's a clone show, so
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if they brought out another set of clones just to keep it interesting.
yeah, yeah. I wouldn't either. And I know this is kind of jumping, I guess, but I was really shocked, I guess, to see the little girl clone of Sarah that
Hmm.
Marion had, and I have to say I'm not really clear on that part either. Like I know she said that they had been trying to clone her for a while, and there was like something like 400 attempts or something, and this kid was the only one that survived. Like what was she talking about? And why is this kid like a kid and like the rest of the clones are like late 20s? Like what was going on there? I was really confused during that whole scene. I was like, what is happening?
Well, when I first got into this and started doing some research on my own, because I'm not a scientist or science major,
Mm.
but looking into the kind of technicalities of cloning and the method that was used for Dolly is probably the same kind of method that they used for the clones on this show. And in that method, it's really difficult to get an embryo to survive
Hmm.
and then grow up. So they had to do it many, many times to finally have a success. And
Okay.
so that's probably what they were talking about with the little girl. And it seems also for some reason they started her process way later than the
Yeah.
others.
Yeah.
Maybe they wanted to um, try something a bit different with her sequence. Maybe she doesn't have the infertility sequence that they do. Possibly,
Hmm.
maybe she has some other things going on, like with the leg brace.
Hmm.
Maybe they changed her sequence and then had to try again. That's a
Yeah,
possibility.
definitely. And I wonder if she has like any of these vaguely supernatural powers that Kira has. Like, I feel like they would definitely want to add something like that in, especially if she's like a later model or what have you.
Right. Um, I kind of like to see her interacting with Kira, actually.
Yeah. Oh, that would
That
be
would be really
great.
interesting to see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because so far we only had Kira interacting with adults and not with any other children.
Very true. That's true. Yeah. 2 seasons.
Yeah.
We haven't seen her with another kid. No wonder she's so like,
Hmm.
yeah,
Adult, practically.
adult.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The way she swiped that nurse's phone, just
That was incredible. She's so punk rock, man.
curious punk rock.
She totally is. I think she gets it from her mom.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so since we're talking about Kira,
Hmm.
I I really really I'm I like science and stuff, but I'm not like super. I don't know. I don't understand a lot of it. So my favorite parts of these episodes are always the character interactions, and so I really really loved all the like Kasima hanging out with Kira and like
Oh
them
yeah.
doing that science project that turned out to be some kind of plan for Sarah, and I loved the I loved how I don't know, it was just so kind of natural that the two of them were together and like they were family, and I love that about Kira and all of the clones pretty much so far. It kind of is this weird kind of family, even though these people didn't even know the others existed a few years ago. You really have seen over the past 2 seasons them like really, really like come together and learn to trust each other, even though they had like all these initial obstacles and Casima's working for Dyad, can we trust her and all this kind of thing, and Allison signed the contract or whatever, but you really see them, especially in this episode, really really come together and kind of be this unit that's like fighting the power or whatever, and I really like that as
Yeah.
well.
Feminists come together.
Yeah, it was great.
Especially Sarah. I mean, she goes from low life grifter to like the mama lioness of the pack, and she just kind of brought everybody together
Yeah,
and showed that she could be trusted, and so they started like trusting each other more,
yeah,
and that's really beautiful.
yeah, yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And Kasima
um
and Kira have been waiting for that interaction for a while
Me
now.
too. Me too. And it was just as cute as I was hoping.
Yeah.
I so um I have to say one of the main things that caught me off guard in this episode is I did not see the the pencil going into Rachel's eye. Like that was terrifying. I did not I was not expecting that at all. And
Yeah,
I'm just
even though they
wondering.
laid it out for us and everything with the poster and talking about the sharpened pencil is like, what's going to happen when she pulls the handle? Oh, I'm not as good with
Oh,
as Jack is.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they always kind of do this for a lot of their like big surprises or reveals, whatever. They lay it out for us, and they give us the breadcrumbs or the puzzle pieces or whatever. And if I was not so captivated by the character's storyline, I could maybe have put it together, but
Hmm.
I was just not even thinking about that. So
Hmm.
I was just like, oh, pencil, board, speed, all this kind of stuff. Oh, yay, science,
Yeah.
and then it turns out to be pencil in her eye. Like, oh my god, yeah, I was not prepared. I was
Yeah,
not prepared at all.
that was pretty incredible.
I'm wondering, like, I'm so curious about what Rachel is gonna do next, like, because this can only obviously hurt Sarah's cause with her. And like you see her near the beginning of the episode, she's talking to Kira and she's like, your mother last time we met, she laid hands on me. And like,
Hmm.
okay, something's not gonna go well the next time we see these two together. I'm just
Hmm.
kind of worried about it, like what's she gonna do next?
Like you did say that she's not the forgiving kind, so clearly she's going to hold a grudge. I
Yes,
think it's
yeah,
going to make her more unstable and insano than before, only we're going to see it on the outside now
yeah.
instead of occasional cracks in her armor, and I'm so looking forward to that.
Yes, I think Rachel is just like a hair's breadth away from having a full-on nervous breakdown. Just
Hmm.
like I'm really excited to see it, but it's gonna suck for her.
Hmm.
But I'm really excited. Like just everything the weight of what she knows and what she's seen, and then her father's back, but now he's dead again, and all the clones are fighting her on every angle, and it's just like something's gonna crack, something's gonna break.
Yeah.
Maybe next season.
I think it really speaks to bottling and holding down all of your emotions and and then eventually something's going to happen. Something's going to
Yeah,
make that veneer crack because you just can't do that. We're emotional creatures. We're not robots, as much as she might try to pretend like she doesn't have any emotional reactions. She does. She does. She's still human. So I
yeah,
think that that's really important for us to see and for others to see as well.
yeah.
She can feel,
Mm.
and she's feeling a lot.
Yeah. One thing that was pretty telling for me was in the scene where she was talking to her dad, and he was like, do you remember that day or something? I can't remember exactly. And
Hmm.
then she was like, do you know why I watch these videos so often? And I was like, no, tell us. Because I
Hmm.
had thought it was because she, like, I don't know, some part of her still loved, I don't know, missed or craved the love that she felt then, and she was, trying to hold on to good memories. But as it turns out, it's because she didn't remember any of that, and so it just makes for me, her character just that more tragic because even though she has at some point experienced love and affection, she has no memory of it, and so just to know that also is just another layer of what's going on inside of her is just like, it's heartbreaking, and
Yeah.
it explains a lot in a lot of ways, but it was just really that was hard to watch for me.
Yeah. I see a lot of hate for her character unnecessarily.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like
Yeah.
that's unfair. They've given us so many little snippets, these little nuggets of who she really is underneath that cold exterior. And I think people really need to look at those a little bit more closely because she's so much more than the
Yeah.
pro clone bitch that everyone thinks she is. Can I swear on this?
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point though, because this whole show, and I feel like I say this every week, but the whole show, what they do with every single character is show you these shades of gray, and they never let any villain, or any like hero be completely good or completely bad.
That's true.
But
Well,
yeah, I've definitely seen a lot of. a lot of hate for her character, and I'm actually starting to, and I know we'll get to this later, but I'm starting to see some hate for Siobhan as well after
Hmm.
she did, whatever she did with Elena. And I think, I don't know, we just have to be careful because there's still just so much we don't know.
That's true.
Yeah.
Though that does really make me go like, Siobhan, no, because
I
she's
know.
trying to do it for
Ah,
Sarah, but
yeah.
I think what Sarah really needs is to have Helena around and give her a chance to really be the sister that she can be
Yeah.
and kind of make that connection still because we really haven't seen that as much from her, though we know she has those feelings underneath. She doesn't really like let them out like we saw
Yeah.
with Cosima. Like they were really kind of connecting this last episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Helena, she's the one who keeps getting this short end of this stick.
She really does.
Just starting to get some
I,
autonomy, and now
yeah.
it's being stripped away from her again.
Again, yeah. I have to say, I'm shocked that she made it to the end of the season because I was so sure they were going to kill her off at some point. But they didn't. And so we finally get this scene and she meets, all of the clones and I was so excited and I was like, maybe finally she'll finally get that sense of family that she's so obviously craving and wanting. And
Yeah.
it was not to be. It was not to be.
It may still be, but just not
True.
right
Not
now.
now. Yeah.
It really makes you wonder, though, what the military wants her for. Like, do
Yes,
they want her
exactly.
combat skills or sniping? Do they know that that she's pregnant? Like,
I have no idea. Like part of me thinks, the show, everything is always about, the reproduction. So I'm wondering if it's something like they want to breed her with one of the guy clones,
hmm
or they want to harvest her eggs and do something that way. I don't know. I don't see it ending well, and
yeah,
especially since it's the military. It's just like, eh.
either way. Or maybe they know that she has those skills and are thinking, well, maybe this is something that could make little super soldier babies, like, even more so than before. Maybe that's what they really want. Kind of
Yeah, maybe.
comic book
Yeah,
style.
I mean, definitely anything's possible on this
Yeah.
show for sure. Definitely. Wow. So let's talk really quickly about. Although we've got plenty of time.
hmm
Um, were you expecting? Because I saw some things like a long time ago on Tumblr about it's a clone show. Are there male clones? And then there was like questions going around. Well, what if Felix is a clone? All this. What if Paul's a clone? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Did you ever think that there were male clones, like for real, in the story?
You know, it doesn't really shock me, but I kind of was expecting it to be Paul, if anyone. Like out of all the male characters on the show, like Felix would have been too
Yeah.
obvious. He's too close to it.
Yeah.
That would have been just either too much of a coincidence or just like too much on the same place and from
Yeah.
the same point of view. But Paul would have been really interesting, especially since he's already a soldier. He's already involved with it. So Mark was an interesting choice. Didn't quite see that one coming, but
Yeah. I know. Me neither.
yeah. And a lot of people have been upset about the fact that there are male clones now. Did that upset you?
Yeah. No, not really. I feel like maybe it could have, but I I don't really think that too much is going to take the spotlight away from Tatiana, which was I think a lot of people's concern.
hmm
Um, and I don't think, I mean, I could be wrong, obviously, I know nothing, but I don't think that they're going to make these male clones like the focus of the show next season.
hmm
Which, if they did that, then yes, I would be upset because this show has, it's about women and it's so feminist and it's so pro women and it's like it's woman centric and it's well written and it's great. So to have it after 2 seasons of of being as pro woman as it is to switch to, oh, now we're back to guys. Of course they're gonna, of course they're the most important thing or whatever. I would be really upset. Yeah,
Hmm.
but don't I don't really see that happening, and
Hmm.
I don't. So I'm not super worried about it. As far as just the fact of male clones, I'm not upset. I'm interested. It makes sense, especially if it's the military,
Right.
since there's usually not really women on the front line, so it would make more sense for the military to have guy clones. That's just the story.
That's
But
true. And I mean, really, if they're creating them to be soldiers, then they're creating them essentially to be cannon fodder. Let's just be blunt here. Soldiers are not meant to really propagate. They're meant to die. I know that
right,
that sounds really harsh, but they're red
it's true.
shirts essentially. And what we have now with this project is a whole big mess of red shirts. If you want to go with a Star Trek reference, um, I really think of it though as more of kind of a contrast. Like if people hadn't cottoned on yet that this is a feminist show, maybe now they'll take notice when viewing it through the filter of these male clones. Is like they're clearly not the center of the story. They're not even the original project. They're an offshoot.
Yeah,
So their importance you really have to question. But if they do have importance, it's in how they're not like the female clones and how they don't want the female clones in harm's way, whereas the male clones, they don't seem to care as much.
yeah,
It's kind
yeah,
of interesting. Kind of a reversal of what you usually see on television.
yeah,
You always
yeah,
do with the show.
yeah, for sure. I remember I can't remember who said this, but like in an interview, either John or Graham was like, women in their multitudes is something that needs to be seen far more than men in their multitudes, and I think um, I really do. I think you're right. I don't think we're gonna see like we're gonna meet this one guy clone, and we're gonna see his whole personality, and then we're gonna see this other guy like we kind of do with the girl clones. I really think they're just gonna use them as soldiers and kill them basically.
Yeah.
So
Oh, another
it's
thing,
sad, but
before we go on, that I was going to
sure.
say is this really even makes the existence of a transgender clone all the more important because you have
Mm-hmm.
these male clones who are male from birth and this transgender clone, and you have to kind of look at that and like where does this character fit in? Like definitely on the side of Clone Club, but it's kind of an interesting contrast as well, and just kind
Yeah,
of putting those side by side and going, well, that's an interesting little juxtaposition right there. So I hope we get to see more
yeah,
of Tony in season 2 too.
definitely, definitely. I hope so.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's a really great point, I have to say. Um, you know, with this whole male clone thing, I'm just wondering if they, because like with the female clones, they engineered them to not, to have that infertility sequence. I wonder what kind of messing around with the genes they did with the guy clones, like um, obviously to make them the best kind of soldier possible. I wonder what they added or like removed to maybe make them able to kill without mercy or think really fast or maybe run really fast or I don't know, some kind of sniping capabilities. That would be really interesting to find out, I think, what
Oh, definitely.
exactly they did. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can see them also being infertile, but I can. I also wouldn't be surprised if they had found a way to like up their testosterone production to
Mhm.
make them
Mhm.
um, more viable, more like in a fighting kind of place.
Yeah.
And it would also kind of explain why so far the male clones that we've seen have been a little bit crazy. Like Mark's not entirely the sanest person. We saw that in episode 1. He's a
Yeah.
little bit
Yeah.
scary. And
Mhm.
Scarface, they're calling him, the behind the glass cage, definitely not completely right. So kind of
No.
makes you wonder exactly, like you said, what they did to them. I'm interested in that.
Yeah, me too. Very, very much. I'm also now obviously really interested in how Mark
Mm-hmm.
got out and like did he said I'm pretty sure a couple weeks ago I think it was he said that he was AWOL from the army, and
Mm-hmm.
so I'm really curious as to how that all went down. Like, do they know he's gone? Do they know like one of the clones is missing or whatever? And is that why he joined this cult, which I'm guessing is fairly off the grid?
Mm-hmm.
You know, is he in hiding? And like now, are there more of him that have left? And like, if so, where are they?
Mm-hmm.
Really intriguing.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
if he doesn't know that he's a clone, which I don't think that he does, that would mean that
Yeah.
they wouldn't have a unit, say, of just all the same of all these clones. They'd probably be dispersed in separate military units so that they couldn't necessarily meet. So you'd really have to scatter them kind of far and wide to prevent that from happening. Unless you had
Yeah.
some that were like Rachel and were pro male clones or something and they knew.
Yeah.
But I don't think he does.
No, I don't think he does either, or at least I didn't really get that feeling from him.
Mm.
Um, but I'm so curious now, like what that all looks like.
We'll have to see if the military operation that's running Project Castor does know where he is,
Hmm.
and if so, why haven't they brought him back in? Are they just watching him as well to see what will happen now
Yeah.
that he's married to Gracie, who is carrying Helena's embryos or babies? That's going to be interesting too.
Yes, that's a little icky,
Mm-hmm.
especially since her dad fertilized them. That's just, ugh, yeah, that still
Right.
makes me very uncomfortable to think about.
As it should.
Oh my gosh. So I'm just wondering, I guess, what the trajectory of next season might be. Like, what is Sarah gonna do with this information, like next season? Because on the one hand, it doesn't have that much to do with her personally, like on a very personal level. And Sarah has, from the beginning, almost completely been, if it's not about me, Kira, I'm not super into it. And so I'm just wondering, like, how that's going to change, especially now that she knows that this kid was cloned from her. And so I guess I'm just really interested in how the story is going to move forward and what the like big mystery is going to be next year.
Well, I think the big mystery is going to have to do with this military operation and what they want with Elena. Not that's maybe a huge mystery necessarily, but she is going to be invested because now they have Helena. So
True. Very true.
what I want to see and hope to see and hope that that's where they're going with this is her finally coming to Helena's rescue somehow,
Hmm.
if that's
Yeah.
possible, and probably what's going to go down between her and Mrs. S when she finds out that she did this, that she took her
Hmm.
sister who she was just reconciling with. Um, I think that that's not going to go down well.
No, no, for sure. And it's one of those things that is not very clear, but I really wonder like what giving Helena over to the military had to do with saving Kira, because she was talking to Paul and she's like, oh, Sarah is going to be angry or what have you, and he's like, well, you did what you had to do, but
Mm-hmm.
what was that?
That's the question.
Oh,
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Nikki's here.
Yes, I slept in a lot.
That's okay. Nikki, this is Sam. Sam, Nikki.
Hello.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Mhm. So we were just talking about the whole Siobhan trading in Helena to somehow protect Kira from we don't know what, and just kind of spitballing about what could have been the deal that she made with the military, um, and whether that has to do with maybe Sarah and Kira being protected from whatever's happening next, or like what went on there. Any ideas?
I mean, you're right, protection seems to make the most sense as it is military, so that seems
Yeah.
very obvious. It also could have something to do with Castor, possibly, because it seems like Castor is a very military-focused thing, and since Helena is so highly trained to kill, maybe they're getting her in on Project Castor. I'm not really sure.
Yeah,
Now that you
we.
brought that up, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Maybe the part about protecting Kira that you were asking about is clearly Kira has a match and has something going on with her biology that make her good for healing the clones. I know that the male clones are not an offshoot from their branch, but if they are from a relation, like from a brother to the original donor, then it's possible they wanted Kira for something to do with that, and maybe they took Helena in her place. I don't
Hmm.
know. I'm just throwing things out there since you asked.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, no, that's a pretty fascinating theory. Yeah, I mean, it's totally possible. Totally possible. Um, and it just for me, it harkens back to how does Siobhan know all of this, and what exactly is her involvement and knowledge level in putting this all together.
That's a
So,
very good question. I wonder that too, because it's like,
yeah,
she probably wasn't a scientist, but she knows about Leda and Castor.
right.
So, I mean, some people have been like, Siobhan's the original, and I don't know about that, but
Yeah, I don't know about that either. I thought one thing that was interesting, though, were kind of the parallels between, at least that I could kind of see, the parallels between Siobhan and Marion, like as Marion was talking to Sarah, like in her house or whatever, and she was saying things like, I'm invested, and she's like adopted these kids, and just some other things that are escaping me now. And so I'm wondering, I know that Jack has this really crazy theory that Siobhan um, was somehow carried some of the clones or whatever. I'm kind of fuzzy on the details, and I'm just wondering, could there be like truth to that? And maybe she was one of the original people um, to be pregnant with one of the clones, and so or was somehow involved in putting the whole thing together. It's just like there's so many what ifs, so many possibilities with her character and with her background. It's crazy.
Jack's theory was that Siobhan carried Rachel, and that
Ah,
the scientists told her that she had died in being born, and then taken her away and raised her. But I don't know if that really stands up anymore. But I have seen
yeah.
some things about Marion and Siobhan having some kind of connection. Like maybe that Siobhan's in is with Marion, who
Hmm.
definitely played the Deus Ex Machina this episode and kind of revealing all these facts.
Yeah, yeah,
they definitely seem to have known each other just by the fact that she could tell Cal to type in "I'm with Siobhan Sadler" and immediately Marion has a response to that.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Hmm.
I hope that next season we'll kind of see that more, like how they fit together, what is all these projects. Ah,
Yeah. Yeah, and like what exactly is topside, it's still like so vague and kind of eerie, you
yeah,
know?
I remember like when we first meet Rachel, she mentions being with Topside. And so I
Yeah.
remember like I drew a comic about that, and then immediately the next season we just go back to Dyad, and I'm like, did I mishear that? And then of course Marion came back and was like Topside. So
Yeah. Yeah.
what's that?
Well, Marion said that they were kind of like the driving force behind Dyad.
Hmm.
So thinking about it, if you've ever heard one of those crazy conspiracy theories, like there are groups of people out in the world with a lot of power and a lot of money, and they're the ones who are secretly running the show, politics,
Yeah.
everything. Maybe it's one
Yeah.
of those.
I would not put it past the show to do something like that and have Topside be like the Illuminati or something.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be great. Um,
We laugh now, but
and
what if it's true?
Oh my gosh.
Uh,
Okay, so we have, I feel like after this finale, we have so many more questions than answers, which somehow is just like last year's finale. Like, we had so many more
oh,
questions
Yeah.
than what we solidly knew after episode 10.
Hmm.
So just, Um, another one thing we haven't talked about, and I can't believe we haven't mentioned it before now, but Cosima didn't die,
yeah.
at least in this season. And I was
Oh,
just like, there's that one point that was so mean, like it was so cruel of them to do. Like, when Kira comes in and Cosima looks legit dead, and she's like, Auntie Cosima, and she just lays there. No, no, like, oh my gosh, and finally, you guys,
guy like pointed at the TV and just shouted, "Do not, do not."
yep,
And they
yep.
teased us with that
I was
whole
like,
dancing thing, like that was going to be her last dance, last hurrah. It's like, don't you dare.
yes, I
Stop it,
know.
stop it.
I had like 3 heart attacks. Oh my gosh.
I was having like Buffy flashbacks when Kira was like trying to wake her up. I was like, no, stop, stop.
Really, really didn't know if Cosima was going to last the season. Like it kept from week to week, it just kept being so maybe she will, maybe she won't, and like she just kept getting worse and worse and worse, and it's like, because you could kind of see both sides of why they would kill her and why they might not, So I was very, very, very concerned, very scared. But to say all that, do you think um, do you think she's gonna be able to use Ethan's key in the book to somehow save herself, or what's gonna happen there? What do you think?
I think she's definitely going to use it. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, you can go.
Okay. I think she's definitely going to use it. The problem is that is she still at Dyad? Is Rachel going to retaliate? Is she going to figure out that she was involved in the whole pencil to the eye thing? Is she still going to have the resources to actually make use of this cipher? Because Scott's still in there, I think. Maybe.
True.
Oh, Scott. Love Scott.
Yeah.
I think really there are two ways it can go. I
Mm.
feel that somehow she'll be able to find resources just because of everybody in that group is so resourceful.
Hmm.
But either she finds it and can cure herself in the clones, or she finds a cure but it's only preventative.
Ah.
Yeah.
I could see that. I could see
Yeah.
that.
And then we get
And
to all like sob.
yeah, she's so like far gone at this point, like with the oxygen tank and everything, and the continual coughing up blood and the like fainting and stuff.
The hallucinating dolphins.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm so concerned. I don't. I think what you said is a good point about like Rachel, finding out that she was involved and then retaliating. So I could definitely see that going badly. And now, Kasima doesn't have Delphine or Leaky kind of like on her side to, kind of facilitate the things that she needs. And Scott is still so new. There may not be much that he can actually do. So I'm just like, I don't know. It could go either way. It really could.
You'll really have to see how much
Yeah.
pull Marion really has, because it seemed like she was kind of going behind Rachel's back in helping to get Sarah out of there. But at the same time, she's Rachel's boss. So there's a power play going on here that's very intriguing. Like, is she going to make a really hard stand against Rachel doing things like kidnapping children again, or is she going to kind of go a behind-the-scenes approach in the future? I think she's
Yeah, it
more behind the scenes.
kind of seems like maybe she did that because she still didn't want Rachel to know whose side she's on.
Mm-hmm.
Just staying behind the scenes, because at this point Rachel just knows that Sarah Manning screwed her over again.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe she'll like try to go to Marion for guidance, because Marion like told her to kill off Leaky and did all this stuff. I don't know.
Rachel still thinks Leaky's alive, but that's beside the point. Marion's a very interesting figure. I hope she gets more time next season, because then we can really, maybe, she knows a lot. So I think we're really going to get more information from her coming up next season.
Yeah, she's in a really good position to like get so much screen time this next season.
Mm-hmm.
She's got the nice house and all the resources, and Castor and Charlotte. Charlotte, that was crazy.
No, maybe she's going to pull some strings and get Cosima the resources that she needs in that case.
Oh yeah, I forget that we do have that ally sometimes. You can't really trust anyone in the show, so every time like a new ally is introduced, I'm like, really? For real?
It's like, are you invested? How invested are you?
Especially if they've just switched sides, I'm like,
I don't know if she just switched just now, or if she's always been playing both sides like that. I think we lost Rooney just now.
Oh no, what do we do?
Well, we only have 5 minutes left, so let's see if she calls back. Go ahead.
One thing I don't know if you guys talked about was the nitrogen canister, the liquid nitrogen that Helena just left in Felix's apartment. Did you guys talk about that at all?
We didn't talk about that, actually. I remember seeing that and wondering what that was all about and why she was focused on that tank so much. Because that was Cosima's tank.
Yeah, like she put it out, and I was like, is that Casima's tank? Is that something she stole from the farm? Are her embryos in it? I don't. And then like all that other stuff happened, and I totally forgot about it until like 2 hours after the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't really given much thought to that. Because I guess that's true. You'd probably have to keep those embryos really cold if you're going to transport them. So if she had something like a nitrogen tank to keep them in, I guess that makes sense. I don't know. Maybe Cosima's going to find them and they can help with her cure.
Yeah, it's like maybe that'll slow it down enough for her to work on it. I don't know.
Right, because stem cells, now that Kira's bone marrow has been smashed by Rachel, they're going to need something to kind of not necessarily cure her, but reverse the process a little bit so that she can carry on and work on the cure. Hello, there you are.
You're back.
We were talking about something really interesting. I think we should probably repeat it. She was asking about the nitrogen tank that Helena left behind and how they might be carrying the embryos that she took from the farm and whether or not those could be the stem cells that Cosima could use to kind of either find a cure or recover enough to find one.
Yeah, I was wondering about that myself, like whether, what was in the tank, and then I think I saw something like that on Tumblr, and I wonder, like, if that would be possible. I wonder how that would come about, though, especially if Rachel does find out that she was involved in everything that went down, like, how she would be able to maybe leverage, those eggs and stuff from Helena into somehow being able to come back to the lab and figure out a cure for what she has. And I think
give me back the eggs. It's like all I can see Rachel
But Cosima is in such a different position, I think, than, for instance, Sarah is, because she has this science background. She has this capability to, she's a scientist, basically, so she has capability to help cure whatever this disease is that is potentially facing all the clones. So she has this kind of, I guess, leverage that she could use to get back in, even if Rachel, wouldn't want her to. So I guess you could be mildly optimistic about that, but
I think it would be smarter for Cosima not to tell Rachel about the embryos if she does find them, because seeing how Rachel destroyed the bone marrow from Kira before, she's probably gonna try to do something similar. Like, she's not wanting Cosima to be cured at all, even though it's involving her too. It's involving her biology. Like, if Cosima dies, who's gonna solve it and reverse this process? And Rachel's probably gonna get the disease eventually too.
I get the feeling that Rachel's really stopped thinking ahead in her plans. Like, she just went out and kidnapped Kira, and then she was like, alright, I've got it. Now Sarah will come here.
She's losing it for sure. But yeah, Rachel's definitely, you're probably right. She's probably not thinking about that at all. And not making really any future plans beyond what she wants in this moment, and that's to have what Sarah has. She's really envious.
Ridiculously envious.
Yeah.
Her little temper tantrum with the bone marrow stomping, I was like, wow, Rachel.
That's not the way to go. What are you doing?
And then I was like sitting in anxiety about the pencil thing. It's like, oh my gosh.
I don't think that she's dead, though it kind of looked like it for a second.
I've seen lots of television characters get stabbed in the eye.
Mm-hmm.
Just an eye patch.
Right. I think we're all really looking forward to Eye Patch Rachel. I know I am.
I'm just imagining the writers thought she was dead and then saw the fandom-wide reaction of Eye Patch Rachel and were like, okay, she lived.
No, we need her still. We need her to be crazy. And it's not even such an obvious death as what Helena's was supposed to be, because she was shot in the chest.
Yeah.
Just because your eye is poked out doesn't mean that you're dead. So, hello again.
Hey, you're back again.
Something weird is going on with my internet, guys. I'm really sorry. I don't know.
Okay.
I have no idea what's going on. But
we were entertaining ourselves.
Good. Well, I see that our time's almost up. Did you guys talk about the clone dance scene and the Sarah Cosima scene in the bed? That was the last thing I kind of wanted to bring up.
We were talking about Rachel instead, so yeah, let's talk about the dancing.
Oh.
I
I was
was so
fine.
happy. Oh my gosh. It was like I allowed myself for just a few seconds to pretend like there were no problems and Cosima was gonna live and everything was gonna be fine. It was so well done. Like it was so well done.
I was over here doing like the exact opposite. I was just like there were tears in my eyes and I was like, what's the catch? What's the catch? And then like there was a voice in the back of my brain like, this isn't possible. There's only one Tatiana.
I know, and that's the magic of this show. Like you have four so different people, and yet it's all one person. Like it's crazy. If she does not at least get nominated for an Emmy, I will set something on fire. She deserves to win.
Yeah. Even if she doesn't care about awards, she still deserves to be lauded with all of them.
Yes.
Recognized.
Yeah, because no one on TV is doing anything close to what she's doing right now. And it's incredible to watch.
And, about that scene and how she plays all these totally different characters, I think that scene really embodies how they're all individuals. You can see it in the way that they dance. So it's like, even though it wasn't really about dialogue, just watching them, you could really see so much about them. Like
Yeah.
Allison's little, and then Helena's kind of freak out. So great.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was great. It's really great. Okay, guys, well, I'm going to wrap this up before I disappear again. But thank you both so much for being here. It's a lot of fun. Had a great time talking to you. And I'll come back and edit all this so that it doesn't look as weird as it did today. But thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you later on Tumblr, I guess.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. All right. Bye.